state will ensure that it's produced in court.
Federal government frowns at obstruction of EFCC's operation as former Kogi Governor Yahya Bello skips court hearing on alleged money laundering case charge.
As urgent as possible, reposition and strengthen the party for effective and constructive opposition.
Umar Damagun gets nod to continue as PDP acting national chairman as party strategizes for unity and constructive opposition. We will also be tracking the progress of President Tinubu's administration in key sectors in 1 year. The economy and power sector are in focus tonight. Good evening and welcome to NTA Network News. I am Jumma Yusuf. Hingino John Adams will be joining me from Lagos, while Benny Adams is here in our studio with business news. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin by telling you how the absence of the former governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello, in court today stalled his arraignment in the over 80 billion naira alleged money laundering case involving the defendant. The matter before the Federal High Court Abuja Division is being prosecuted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on behalf of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Judiciary correspondent Austin Anyebe reports.
Yahya Bello's arraignment is coming on the heels of a warrant of arrest, an enrollment order granted to the EFCC by the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja. Though the defendant was not in court but had a legal representation in Abdulhab Ahmed, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. The Defense Counsel told the court that there was an ex parte order restraining EFCC from arresting and prosecuting the former governor of Kogi State as granted on the 9th February 2024 by a Kogi State High Court. The order, he said, has been appealed against at the Court of Appeal, frowning at another order obtained by the EFCC from Court of Co-Equal Jurisdiction. He went further to say that, going by the judicial process, the Federal High Court lacks jurisdiction to hear the matter. But counsel to EFCC, Kemi Pinero, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, as the prosecution counsel said, the order obtained on the 17th April was a different one, which empowered them with warrant of arrest on which the security personnel laid siege at the defendant's house before a governor with immunity came to whisk him away. The prosecution counsel contended that the defendant's counsel, having announced appearance for the former governor, should accept service on his behalf. Counsel to the EFCC heard that if the former president of the United States of America, Donald Trump, could appear in court for trial in person, there was no reason why a former governor would be dodging arrest and subsequent arraignment. Having had argument from parties, the presiding judge, Justice Emeka Nwite, adjourned the matter to 23rd of April 2024 for ruling.
The court order is for its production on the next adjourned date, and the state will ensure that it's produced in court. Section 12 of AJA also allows a law enforcement agent to break down any premises where a defendant may be hiding.
Meanwhile, Justice Emeka Nwite has fixed 22nd of April 2024 for counsel to Binance Holdings Limited and two of its executives to move the application for bail of the second defendant, who has been in custody for more than 6 weeks. This is to enable counsel to the EFCC respond to some of the fresh issues raised in the affidavit by the defendant. From the Federal High Court, Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
In the meantime, the EFCC has declared the former governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello, wanted. Meanwhile, the federal government has frowned at attempts to obstruct the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, in the course of performing its statutory duty on the arraignment of former Kogi State Governor Yahya Bello. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, described the development as a matter of very grave concern. The minister affirmed that beyond doubt, operatives of the EFCC have the backing of law to invite any person of interest to interact with them in the course of their investigation into any matter, regardless of status. He said any suspect being invited by the EFCC is therefore bound under the law to honor the invitation. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice frowned at the situation where public officials who are themselves subject of protection by law enforcement agents will set up machineries of obstruction to the civil and commendable efforts of the EFCC to perform its duties. He advised anyone who has been invited by the EFCC or any other agency to immediately toe the path of decency and civility by honoring such invitation instead of embarking on a temporizing self-help capable of putting the country in bad light before the rest of the world. To the economy now, we hear that global central banks have agreed to begin cutting interest rates in the second half of 2024. While that is in the offing, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, has vowed to ensure that Nigeria has an FX market that operates on its own without government interference. Muplak Dakok reports that the CBN governor, while speaking on crystallizing change and reforming the monetary policy in Nigeria at the IMF and World Bank meetings in Washington, D.C., assured participants that inadequacy in foreign exchange liquidity will soon be a thing of the past in Nigeria, as the Apex Court is working to step up FX liquidity in the markets.
I think between yesterday and today, we had about 600 million US that came into the reserves account. So I wouldn't let people get too excited about this thing. All I will say is that we are looking towards ensuring that we have a market that operates on its own, willing buyer, willing seller, and price discovery. That's where we're going to. The shifts you've seen in our reserves has really little or nothing to do with defending any naira, and that's certainly not our objective.
The issue of inflation, the governor says, as global inflation falls, monetary and fiscal indices will align to tame inflation.
Over the course of the past 6 months, we've traded up to $1 billion.
This is FX liquidity.
Yes. So the FX liquidity has certainly, taken a center stage, quite frankly, in the activities of the monetary side. And I think people see that. They see the exchange rate coming down. They understand that, or we continue to talk about the fact that the pass-through, there's a lag, but ultimately the objective is to ensure we can moderate inflation.
Still on the economy, the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority says it is set to upscale government earnings through increased investment. This is as the authority revealed that it has surpassed its target for 2023 and is poised to doing more in 2024. Benny Adams has the details.
The Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority has been in the business of promoting investment for Nigeria's economic development on behalf of government at the federal, state, the local government, and the FCT. And now it's time to unveil the scorecard, revealing 11 years of impact.
Earning over 1.2 trillion in terms of total comprehensive income and over 160 billion in terms of core income.
Turning challenges to opportunities, the chief investor and his team are optimistic that 2024 provides better opportunities as plans are underway to surpassing previous successes.
We have to continue to be meticulous, ensuring that we have the right people focused on the right tasks. And then from a tactical standpoint as well, a focus on balance sheet management, a focus on cost prudence, a focus on ensuring that we are able to attract the right kind of strategic expertise, as well as the right kind of third-party capital into projects that we are undertaking. We have already begun the year very much in this light, and we are excited.
We continue to ensure that where we invest, we not only invest for financial returns, but we invest for sustainable earnings.
We have been able to leverage our investment in other climates outside of Nigeria to integrate some of those learnings with our portfolio companies in Nigeria, but also showcase these companies to other investors outside of the country to actually catalyze further investments.
They say more impact will be felt in areas of services, logistics and innovation. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
In the meantime, the federal government says it is fostering a vibrant market for Nigerian-made goods and services. This is aimed at creating more jobs, boost economic diversification efforts, and reduce reliance on imported goods. Kenneth Nanim tells us more.
Successive administrations in Nigeria have campaigned on reversing over-dependence on oil, which projects Nigeria as a mono-economy. To solve this problem, emphasis has been on improving productivity in the extractive and manufacturing industries, agribusinesses, and other domestic competencies that will boost the exportation of goods and services.
Made in Nigerian goods are world standard goods anywhere, anytime. And it's good that we are going to showcase these goods and services all over the globe.
The MDAs saddled with these tasks are here brainstorming to identify the gaps in marketing made in Nigeria products.
I'll learn more and then dig more.
Discussions of this forum also reveal that the success of this initiative is dependent on adequate collaboration between government and the private sector. To drive this initiative, 6 countries, including South Korea, Canada, Japan, and France, have been selected for the event. Part of the mandate of this forum is to develop a comprehensive strategy that will showcase the strength and innovations in the Nigerian businesses across sector, as well as to encourage patronage of made in Nigerian products, both locally and internationally. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
We now hear that efforts are on to enhance Nigeria's digital infrastructure, which will lead to secure and seamless data exchange capabilities. This comes off a meeting between the management of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, and the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, where agreements were reached on a National Public Key Infrastructure, PKI, and the Digital Public Infrastructure, DPI, both of which will enhance synergy between digital identity and payment ecosystems.
We need to work together with NIMC to see how we can come up with a framework for the national public key infrastructure, a framework for a data exchange platform, and how we can work together to build the Nigerian digital public infrastructure stack.
The NIN, which is a unique identifier, is basically the foundational identity on which the digital public infrastructure sits on. So it's important that we have to harmonize together to advance the course of technology in Nigeria.
Victor Azu reports that a 12-man committee has now been set to ensure smooth and implementation of the initiatives within 4 weeks. Now we're gradually coming to a year since the current administration led by President Bola Tinubu came to power. And NTA is beginning a countdown to May 29th, which will officially mark the administration's 1 year in office. In doing so, we are tracking the federal government's progress in key sectors, and our beat correspondents will be joining us in the days ahead with a review of achievements in diverse sectors. Now, we're being joined tonight by Benny Adams, our business and economy correspondent, and Joshua Ojuto, who covers the power sector. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on Network News.
Thank you, Jumai. It's good to be here.
Take a look at the screen over there and I would like a quick review of these targets within the last 1 year, and then tell us where you stand on the 2 options as regards each of the targets. Benny, I would like to get your views there.
Okay, thank you, Juma. You will agree with me that in tracking progress made in the last 10 months, more like a countdown to 1 year in office of the present administration, you will agree with me that possibly we are not where we should be yet, but you also agree with me that we are making progress. Looking at some sectors in the economy in terms of curbing inflation. Curbing inflation, you will agree with me that yes, we have the figures from NBS as 33.2%. That is the increase in inflation. You also understand that it's not a Nigerian thing, it's a global thing. But steps have been taken to ensure that this inflation slows. And what are the drivers of this inflation? We're talking about energy, we're talking about food. So at this point, I would say we are on course because of the efforts that have been taken. And talking about energy, the 4 refineries are about to come up already. Dangote is providing diesel at a subsidized, highly subsidized rate of 1,000 as against about 1,650 that we've had. Moving forward to tax reforms, talking about fiscal reforms and tax reforms, a lot is being done. There has been quick wins recorded by the leadership of Taiwo Oyedele, who is leading the reform process in that area. And to start with, the moment the president came into office, he decided to suspend the annual Finance Act, which brings to review of the finances as well as the business environment every year. We've had discounts in diesel, we've had for CNG conversion. There are a lot of waivers. It's part of the reforms that have been recorded in the fiscal policy. And down to the Naira, talking about the Naira and the dollar, it is cherry news. We heard from the president, well, I say the governor of the central bank, just moments ago, talking at the sidelines of the World Bank meetings where we have liquidity up to $1 billion and about 7 billion of backlog has been settled. And today we have the dollar hovering about 1,000 to a dollar. It is progress being made at this particular point in time, if you agree with me.
I agree with you, Benny, and from the comments of the CBN governor in Washington, as global inflation falls, monetary and fiscal sides in Nigeria are collaborating to tame inflation. Let me now bring in Joshua Ojito into the conversation. He's our power sector correspondent. Joshua, I figured you understand the rules at this point. Now, why don't you take us through your thoughts on the targets highlighted for the power sector and tell us what options you are taking for each target? I have to pause you there. We'll take a break. When we return, then I'll get back to you. Do stay with NTA. You're welcome back, and our power sector correspondent Joshua Ojito is standing by to let's take your thoughts on the targets highlighted for the power sector and tell us what options you are taking for each of these targets. Joshua?
Thank you, Jume. For the power sector in Nigeria, it is work in progress with various interventions by the federal government and other players to wrap up generation, strengthen the transmission, and of course also enhance the distribution value chain of the sector. And government has set some targets so far on the mass metering project with the presidential metering initiative, which is still ongoing. Recently, last month, the Minister of Power flagged off the mass metering of military formations across the country, and also there are plans to roll out 2 million meters across the country, which is part of interventions under the mass metering. So on that, government is on course on the mass metering initiative. For the intervention to wrap up generation, that is to increase the power generation, because as it is now, our power generation is hovering between 3,000, 4,000, and at times 5,000. Federal government set a target of 6,000 in the next 6 months. And you can agree with me that the Zongeru power plant is ready to add up 700 megawatts of power. The Kashimbila with 40 megawatts is also ready. So on power generation, to wrap up generation, Nigeria is on course by this administration. And on the service delivery by the distribution companies, it's been mixed feelings by consumers, especially since the privatization. So there is need for realignment. And of course, the new Electricity Act empowers the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to do more on monitoring and evaluation. So on this, there is need for realignment.
Sure, thank you so much. We know the power sector has rolled out some reforms, and we hope that when implemented, it will ease, the stress on the power grid. Thank you so much for joining us. The resumption of plenary at the Senate, which was earlier postponed until Tuesday, 23rd April 2024, has further been moved to Tuesday, 30th April. Chairman Senate Committee on Media and Publicity, Senator Yemi Aderamodu, while confirming the postponement, explained that the shift is to enable completion of renovation, as it is anticipated that plenary sitting will be held at the main chamber of the Senate upon resumption. Now to politics, where the 98th National Executive Committee meeting of the People's Democratic Party has ended with the resolve to constitute a reconciliation committee to mend existing rifts among aggrieved members towards returning the party to a formidable one. This was part of resolutions at the meeting held at the party's national headquarters in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf reports.
No change in the leadership of the party as acting national chairman of the PDP, Umar Damagum, continue in same acting capacity. PDP 2023 presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, his running mate Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, Rivers State Governor Sim Fubara and his counterparts from other PDP-governed states were among members that attended the NEC meeting. Members re-emphasized on the urgent need to rejig the party towards greater performance.
We must, as urgent as possible, reposition and strengthen the party for effective and constructive opposition, bringing on the table acceptable alternatives of policies and programs in the governance of our dear nation.
To further strengthen our party, we must go along the line of the 3 R's of reconciliation, repositioning, and restructuring.
The governors of the PDP are united and poised to give support to all the organs so that they can perform their constitutional functions.
Both Senate and the House of Representatives caucus of the PDP, represented by their leaders, will commit to make the party great again. The meeting is the first where all the leaders of the party came together since the last general elections. The meeting of the Board of Trustees of the party earlier held, urging leaders to quickly look into some controversies surrounding the offices of both National Chairman and Secretary. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
And from the governing party, the National Working Committee of the All Progressives Congress, APC, has inaugurated 2 committees to manage the process for the forthcoming Ondo State governorship primary election slated for 20th of April 2024. Let's hear it from political correspondent Abubakar Akwanga.
Preparation ahead of the battle for the party's ticket for the Ondo forthcoming governorship election has just begun, and those to spearhead the process have been carefully selected and inaugurated. Now the 16 aspirants on the platform of the All Progressives Congress have been cleared to participate in the party's exercise slated for the 20th of April 2024.
He will abide by the principle, the doctrine and the constitution of our great party.
All the 5 delegates for 203 wards in the 18 local government of the state have been duly elected.
If there is any discrepancy or if there is any disagreement, then the appeal committee will listen.
Away from the Ondo governorship primary, the national secretary of the party says the legitimacy of its national chairman, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, remains valid.
The court that has jurisdiction by the Electoral Act, which we drafted, is the Federal High Court, and the Federal High Court has said the purported suspension should be recognized pending determination of the case.
The party says it will explore every legal avenue to ensure that those behind the unwholesome enterprise are termed to serve as deterrent for the future. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
Now let's bring you up to speed with other news as the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons have flagged off an empowerment program for displaced persons in the FCT in a bid to improve their livelihoods. Ruth Agwele reports that this is part of its mandate to provide durable solutions for internally displaced persons, migrants and refugees across the country.
I'm surprised when they just call me because they used to tell us that we help us, we wear our husband dead and leave us with children, then we empower us, we will not hear anything. But this government, God will help them more.
The adage, when there is life, there is hope, best describes Binta Abubakar's situation, a displaced widow and a mother of four, whose life is about to change. It's a new chapter for Binta and other internally displaced persons across the country, as the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, in partnership with a non-governmental organization, has flagged off an empowerment program to train displaced persons in the Federal Capital Territory in professional driving skills and agriculture, ranging from livestock farming to other agribusiness, to improve their livelihoods and enable them become self-reliant.
The Commission also is making an arrangement towards constructing an elaborate skill acquisition centers in the 6 geographical zones of this country. However, with the publicity of fund, we are going to begin with 3 major zones: the Northeast, the Northwest, and then the North Central.
Like after the program here, they will be given fertilizer that will help them in starting from somewhere. No matter how small, a journey of 1,000 kilometers, you can start it with one step.
What I'm planning to do in this program, I'm planning to do cattle business.
For the Commission, enhancing the resilience of displaced persons through empowerment programs like this is the game changer, as beneficiaries who were drawn from different IDP camps in the FCT will go through rigorous training to become skilled professionals. In Abuja, Ruth Agwele, NTA News.
Let's shift our attention to the environment as the momentum on climate change awareness is building by the day. This has been achieved with the Institute of Strategic Studies and Development Communication of the Nasarawa State University, providing a platform on effective communication as a veritable tool for driving action and resilience in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. Our environmental correspondent Charles Alpha has the details.
The recent surge in heat waves underline how far and fast the world around us is changing, owing to the adverse effects of climate change. Concerns remain high from the recent Nigerian Meteorological Agency forecast on rain and flood. How these extreme weather events are being communicated to Nigerians formed the basis of this 5th International Conference by the Institute of Strategic and Development Communication of the Nasarawa State University, KEFI, Nasarawa State. There, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, was represented by the Director General of the Nigerian Telephone Authority, NTA, Saliu Abdulhamid Dembos.
Communication is very key so that people will be aware to their responsibilities. People should take the issue of climate change very seriously. We are all witnessing what is happening today. Though some people are maybe lackadaisical about climate change, but it's a reality.
I'm delighted in Nasarawa State that the Institute is actually hosting this very critical and very timely and relevant conversation on climate change.
Scholars will be able to interrogate the nexus between communication and climate change. This law provides that if you are caught holding out yourself, pretending to be a public relations practitioner, when you are not registered with the institute, it means you are not certified.
Please, if you are not sure, don't share. We are in the age of fake news and misinformation.
While the DG NTA, Saliu Abdulhamid Dembos, received an award of excellence in public communications on behalf of the Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, books on health, communication and development, as well as journals on development and communication studies were also launched. From KEFI, Nasarawa State, Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Thank you, Charles. Time now to join Hingino in Lagos for the next set of report on network news. Hello, Hingino. Hello, Hingino.
Jimwai. Think out of the box. Use your acquired skills to come up with innovative strategies that will bring solutions to global challenges. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu was addressing young Nigerians at the first edition of the Lateef Jakonde Leadership Academy Summit in Lagos. Joy Ken Abapoya reports.
The Lateef Jakonde Leadership Academy was initiated by the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to build skills and provide life-changing opportunities to young Nigerians who desire to impact their generation.
Our world is evolving at an unprecedented pace, and the challenges we face require leaders who are not only capable but compassionate.
It is the maiden edition of the Academy Summit, and Governor Sanwo-Olu officially presents 30 fellows of the Academy to the public.
This country is beckoning on you. This country is asking of you to innovate, think out of the box, take over your world. There are several of you that are sitting here. There are several of you that are home listening to me. There are several of you that are out there struggling. And my experience says that you shouldn't give up.
One after the other, panelists, including the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, and the former Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, discussed subtopics around the theme, leadership and Nigeria's future.
And as a leader, as we think, you can't think of engagement, you can't think of leading without thinking of the implication of technology at the time that you're.
Trust of the people. And once there is trust, there is almost very little that the government cannot do. Because people are behind you. They will pay their taxes more voluntarily. They will make sacrifices more voluntarily.
2 fellows of the Academy who made positive impact through their innovation were honored with the Lateef Jakonde Leadership Award. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abapoya, NTA News.
Determined to give global recognition to the annual Lagos International Trade Fair while using it as a platform to project the vast investment opportunities in Nigeria, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, has found a dependable ally in the Nigerian Television Authority towards actualizing its world-class goal. The Vice President and Chairman of the LCCI, Prince Abimbola Olashore, while leading other team members to the Lagos Network Center of the Nigerian Television Authority, said the NTA is the ideal television station to offer worldwide coverage. Adejoke Odeka has details.
The visit of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry Management team to NTA2 Lagos Network Center is to solidify the mutual relationship between both organizations. The occasion was also an opportunity for LCCI team to intimate NTA2 management of its 38th edition of the Lagos International Trade Fair and solicited the station's support in promoting the activities at the fair. Leader of the delegation and Vice President of LCCI, Prince Abimbola Olashore, said the importance of the synergy between LCCI and NTA2 Lagos Network Center cannot be overemphasized, as it has helped in spotlighting activities of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry in time past.
It's very important that NTA is part of the International Trade Fair. First of all, I must commend NTA. You've always been part of it, right from when we were at Badagry. So we've always come to showcase what we do there. But for this year, we are letting everybody know that it's going to be much bigger, much bolder. And the key thing is I want to start the awareness much earlier.
The Zonal Director, Nigerian Television Authority, Lagos Network Center, Nick Onyeshi, who acknowledged the mutual relationship between the two organizations, said the move by the LCCI is necessary in order to attract more investors to the trade fair.
We have given a commitment that we partner with the LCCI to promote the upcoming Lagos International Trade Fair. We are not just promoting the Lagos International Trade Fair, we are also promoting Nigeria.
The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry was established for the promotion and protection of trade and industry in the state, and it has taken the responsibility of organizing the annual Lagos International Trade Fair. In Lagos, Adejoke Odeka, NTA News.
That's it from here. Another break beckons. The news will be back shortly.
Thanks for rejoining us. We hear President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved system-wide policies to comprehensively overhaul the education sector. Now, this is to improve learning and skill development, increase enrollment, and ensure the academic security of the nation's children. The president has therefore approved the conduct of an extensive census of the following: all schools in Nigeria from primary to tertiary level, their conditions and living facilities, proximity to one another, and educational infrastructure. The review includes all teachers in Nigeria, their qualifications, training support received, as well as all pupils and students in primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions, their gender and exam grades. The framework is designed to provide the appropriate skills for each level of education that will result in the empowering of generations of Nigerians with the required aptitude for the evolving needs of the global economy of the 21st century. Still on education, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has called on the police and other security agencies to arrest any parent who is found near any of the computer-based test CBT centers during the 2024 UTME exercise. The directive was issued at the final briefing of the computer-based test center owners, and JAMB says the directive became necessary following the intrusive disposition of some parents during previous exercises. The Registrar of JAMB, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, warns that any parent who disobeys the order would not only be arrested, but his ward will also be disqualified from sitting for the examination. All arrangements, he says, have been concluded for the conduct of the 2024 UTME, which will be held in over 700 centers across the nation, and appeals to center owners to consider the assignment as a national engagement and not as a purely profit venture. Let's now bring in Benny Adams for business news. Hello, Benny. Good to see you once again.
Thank you, Jimmy. Good to be here. Now from Washington, D.C., President of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, says no economy can grow or industrialize in the dark, hence the need for the Global South to invest in energy.
Look, three things IJ and I will agree to do. First is let's just solve Africa's energy problem.
Right.
And second is let's make sure Africa can feed itself. Of course, to do that, you also need energy to be able to power industries and value addition and all of that. And the third one is just to make sure that we create jobs. And you can't create jobs if you don't have energy running an economy. Look, energy is like blood inside of your body, right? You got blood, you live. Economies thrive on energy, right? There's a direct correlation between the GDP growth you're going to have with the amount of energy you are able to develop, to generate. Whether it's you're going to power your industries, you're going to make sure you're competitive.
And from Zambia, President Hakainde Hichilema has called for collaboration between researchers in the agriculture sector to ensure they come up with drought-resistant crops that can be grown by farmers. President Hichilema says researchers should also breed varieties that are also flood-resistant and high-yielding. He says this will bring about efficiency in the country's crop production and that research results should be taken to the farmers so that they grow developed varieties. He says he has a vision to grow the economy by diversifying different sectors such as agriculture. He also urged youth to take farming as a business and growth opportunity.
Yielding is important because we want to drift agriculture to higher productivity, anchored, as I said, on the genetics, such as what we're saying, on irrigation, on husbandry, crop, as it were. So this is a good thing.
And at the close of trading on the Nigerian exchange, the all-share index declined by 0.06% to close at 99,845.91 basis points. Let's now see how the global stocks fared. Ojome, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Benny. The collaboration between the German government and Nigeria in combating violent extremism, cybercrime, illicit financial activities, and upholding human rights is most needed in today's global landscape. Minister of Police Affairs Ibrahim Gaidam stated this when he hosted the German ambassador to Nigeria in his office in Abuja. Francis Fong reports.
Nigeria and Germany has celebrated 50th anniversary of signing cooperation agreement, and the cooperation in the police sector dates back to a visit of the then German Chancellor when she met with the former President Buhari. Ever since, a lot has been done in the Nigeria police force by the German government, and this visit by the German ambassador to Nigeria is born out of the commitment of the German government to continue to do more for the force.
Whatever the decision of the Nigerian government is, how to move forward, we have already committed to support the Presidential Committee on Police Reform that is in the process of being set up.
The resources, expertise and guidance you have shared with us have been invaluable to the strengthening our law enforcement efforts and promoting a safer environment for the Nigerian citizens. Our commitment remains steadfast in fortifying the bond between our nations for our mutual advancement.
The Police Affairs Minister is optimistic that the continuous cooperation between both countries will be a game changer in the fight against all forms of crimes. Francis from NTA News.
We'll take our last break for tonight. More on NTA Network News when we return. Thanks for rejoining us. Officials of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FTCC, have sealed up and evacuated expired bags of rice filled with weevils, beverages and drugs, as well as misleading pricing and lack of transparency in pricing from all branches of a popular supermarket in Abuja. The affected products are 5 and 10 kg of rice produced in August 2022 and October 2022 and expected to expire in 2024, but had 2027 as its expiry date. Olayinka Ojo reports that the acting executive vice chairman FTCC, Adamu Ahmed Abdullahi, who led the raid, wondered why the bags of rice were still in stock and being sold in the supermarket years after the rice production companies had stopped production. He noted that the integrity of products being sold at the supermarket could no longer be guaranteed, thereby exposing consumers to unsafe products.
Local rice, pretending that it is the same stallion or kappa that people are used to, that people are buying, which is wrong. You are still frisking consumers. You are collecting from them what is not due, because what you are selling, what you pretend to be selling is not what you are selling. It's not what it is in that bag. It's when people buy, they go to they go home to cook. That's when they find out that these things are not the original product that they are used to. Essentially, we are evacuating all that rice that we found in this supermarket today, and they will come and explain to us how they got that rice. We'll get the root of it, to who the producers, who the baggers are, and we'll take the necessary action. Sanctions as appropriate with the acts establishing the FTCC will be applied as appropriate.
Yeah, we will not take the responsibility fully. We'll transfer it along to the supplier who brought those items to us, because definitely we are going to expose the supplier as well.
Following deceptive actions by the management of the supermarket to hide the affected products at its headquarters, the FTCC has sealed up branches of the supermarket for duping and misleading Nigerians. Meanwhile, the firefighting capacity of Borno State has recorded a boost with the donation of equipment by the federal government, which was unveiled by Governor Babagana Umara Zulum in Maiduguri. Maimuna Garba reports.
Of recent incidences of fire outbreak have become rampant in Borno State, thereby causing lots of concerns and uncertainties for both the government and the citizenry. This explains the depth of appreciation of Governor Babagana Umara Zulum to the Ministry of Interior and the Federal Fire Service for their invaluable assistance to Borno State. This gesture, he says, underscores the importance of intergovernmental cooperation in addressing critical challenges and ensuring the welfare of the citizenry.
What matters is not to control the fire outbreak, but to completely eradicate or minimize the number of fire outbreaks in Borno State.
Governor Zulum has directed the State Fire Service to bolster its workforce through recruitment of additional 200 firemen in an effort to mitigate potential risks of fire outbreaks and safeguard lives and property. Additionally, the governor has inaugurated a committee tasked with investigating the root causes of incessant fire outbreaks in Borno. The committee is expected to analyze factors contributing to fire incidences, propose comprehensive strategies for mitigating future risks, and enhancing overall fire safety across the state. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
And a quick check on the weather prospect for Friday for Nigeria and the rest of the world is next.
Glad to have you join us on the weather forecast for Friday. The morning hours are expected to be mostly quiet with cloudy skies to the southern and the north central region with more sunshine intervals to the northern states. By afternoon and evening hours, we expect more activities, that is thunderstorms to most parts of the coastal belt, including parts of Imo, Abia, Edo, Adamawa and Taraba states. That's all for the forecast. Stand by for the air quality and temperature forecast. I am Theodora Itsun. Thank you for watching.
And we thank you so much on behalf of the production crew for spending your time with us. I am Jumwa Yusuf. Programming continues on the network service of the NTA. Good night.